China is changing its method of counting cases of coronavirus yet again as Wuhan becomes a ghost town. Many have likened it to Chernobyl of the 1970s. The author of The Coming Collapse of China, among others, is Gordon Chang. He joins us right now. Gordon, you were among the early doubters of almost any pieces of information we got out of China long before this. So do you trust what they're telling us now?
Well, certainly not. You know, there's been, for the last 4 or 5 days, a decrease in the number of new cases each day. But we also heard Xi Jinping, the Chinese ruler, at a Politburo meeting yesterday, said that the coronavirus has not peaked. You just cannot put those two pieces of information and say they're consistent. And really right now, I think officials are just manufacturing numbers. They've changed the methodology twice this week, 3 times within the last 10 days. And, you know, part of it is because, you know, as you learn more about a virus, you sort of redefine what a case is. But nonetheless, there's a lot of deliberate falsification here.
Well, what's so weird, we're showing as you're speaking images from Wuhan, which I guess you were telling me is bigger than Manhattan, and nothing. It's a ghost town. Where are all the people?
Yeah, and also this is also true in a lot of other cities. So it's not just Wuhan, the epicenter. But this is now.
So they're told to stay indoors. Don't go out.
Told to stay indoors. You have various forms of travel restrictions, not complete lockdowns, but you do have checks. You do have people being turned away from places like Shanghai. So, you know, right now China is in a state of semi-paralysis.
But some of them were allowed, I think, to go to work, but on a limited basis and only few hours. So how is that working out? Because, like I'm saying, in a city the size of Manhattan and bigger, the people aren't there.
Yeah, this is a concern because Xi Jinping wants China to go back to work. And when you put employees back to work at a point where there really is no control of the virus, it's going to spread further.
And so right on top of each other. These
right
factories,
on top of
I mean,
each
they're
other.
pretty densely packed. Right?
So what you're going to have is essentially there'll be an increase in output, and that'll make the GDP numbers look a little bit better, but then it's going to prolong the virus. And the one thing, Neil, we're seeing this virus spread in some pretty hot locations, and that casts doubt on everyone's narrative that this thing in China will disappear June, July, September.
Right, with the warmer weather and all. Apparently it is fighting that argument. So let me ask you, stepping back with this, the markets, I think, tend to respond much as they did with trade. The better things look for a trade deal, they went up. The less or so, they went down. Same thing with this virus. The better the prospects look that it's contained, better for stocks. Last couple of trading days of the week, worse for stocks when that was not the case. So are the markets getting ahead of themselves on this fear that it's going to lead or potentially to a protracted slowdown that's going to spread?
Well, my sense is that the markets are not taking into account how serious this is. I think they're sort of putting too much faith in what Beijing says about this. And that's sort of natural. You know, that's
all we have to go on.
Yeah, all they have to go on. I mean, I believe that the regime is just not prepared to tell the truth. They're not allowing the World Health Organization team into Wuhan, and that means it looks like they've got something to hide. I mean, at least that's the natural inference. If that's the case, Neil, if this virus is really very different from what we've seen before, then the assumptions that we have about coronaviruses and viruses in general just may not apply in this case. And if they don't apply, this could be really severe, as we're seeing from all these cases, especially in South Korea and Tehran. The Tehran ones, the ones in Iran, you know, they don't have any link to China. That really, as the Director General of the as the Director General of the WHO said, that really is worrying.
So when you get big U.S. companies, Apple was the big trigger this week, saying, you know, this could have an impact on, you know, our getting our phones out, new phones that could come out in the end of the summer, the beginning of the fall. You know, Mattel, Hasbro delayed shipments, even maybe delayed toys for next Christmas, which seems unfathomable to me. The potential is there for this to be a worldwide economic issue.
Well, certainly. You know, in our country, we have, for instance, the big box retailers. They maintain lean inventories. We could see some shortages in mid-April that has an effect on inflation. And remember Apple. Just in January, they said, you know, they gave a revenue forecast.
Remember that?
And then like 4 weeks later, they say, oops, we're going to miss it. So it shows you that a company like Apple, which has all of these operations in China, which has every reason to know what's going on in China, China. They've been fooled. And if they've been fooled, like the rest of us are going to be even in a less position to understand what's going on there, that means the markets probably are underplaying this.
And think about it, that's a big market for Apple products as well as a big manufacturing center for those Apple products.
Yeah.
We'll see. All right, thank you, my friend, very, very much. Gordon Chang.